Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, you guys. I'm going to be reading this on my tablet so I don't completely ruin my eyes. And I'm not reading every single bit of it. There's certain ones that I just want to touch on. Can a family do anything to prevent their child from being taken away by a cult such as Jehovah's Witnesses or Scientology if they are determined to join them against the parents' wishes? You see, that's what the Scientology does. They try to lure the children. This is Ex-Scientologist 2000. First of all, love them and make them feel free to choose, and that you respect their choice. I know it sounds counter to what you asked, but if they have decided, then it is very difficult to dissuade them. Second, make them feel home whenever they come home and make them believe that they would be loved and accepted whenever they return back to normal life. See, what these cults provide is a sense of belongingness and freedom from the emotional hurt that your child is going through. By the way, network marketing does the same thing, as well as a lot of churches, from personal experience. Sense of belongingness and freedom from the emotional hurt that your child is going through. So if you can provide the opposite in a sense that they can always return to home, they will have the courage to return whenever they get disoriented from the cult. Keep visiting them whenever you can, and keep giving them some gifts or money or items of use, like food, clothes, etc. Making them, I'd say, I'm going to add in there, give them a burner phone. In fact, give them as many burner phones as you can. Making them feel that you care about them. Be in constant touch or communication with them, never making them believe that you want them out of the cult. Also, it will help them to communicate to you when they are in trouble or realize their mistake and want to get help in getting out. Never say too much, or if possible anything, against the cult, because it will trigger their conditioning by the cult that the outside world is more dangerous. Let them experience the damage so that whenever they feel that they are in wrong, at least they will not feel guilty, which stops many people from returning back to normal life. Never compare your child's life with somebody else's of their age, or tell them about such examples also, because it is exactly what made them flee there in the first place. Doing so means that you don't value them, and this triggers strong emotions in your child. Also, everyone has done something wrong in their life for which they feel guilty. These cults understand that and use this knowledge by asking the person or the members or prospective members to accept that they did it, something like confession in Christian church. This gives a sense of personal responsibility to the person and helps him or her to relieve the guilt and feel better and happy. By the way, journaling will do the same thing. If somebody close to them or loved one would have listened to such supposed transgressions lovingly and accepted them beforehand, they wouldn't need to join these cults and be trapped by them. The only problem is, in case with cults like Scientology, is that they keep a record of these kind of accepted transgressions. You guys have to know how deep this goes, right? But at this point, I can't get in too deep because I'd piss off a lot of people. Transgressions by their members, and then use it to threaten, abuse members when needed. Hold on a minute, you guys. Okay, hold on. I'm going to scroll. Okay. I really like what this guy says. I believe he's only in Quora, to my knowledge. Former Scientologist, updated 5 years ago. Doug Parent. Does the Church of Scientology encourage members to shun family members who choose to leave the church? Encourage is not the correct term. It's an ultimatum. Yeah, by the way, LAPD is totally fine with all that stuff. Especially when it's children involved. CPS is okay with it too. And yes, it's actual policy. I would love to know which policy this was. If anybody knows it, send me an email. My new email is eyes2see33@yahoo.com. And don't worry, any fair gamers or psychopaths, I ain't afraid of you. When I say that, I'm not joking. In fact, you should maybe be afraid of me. When a Scientologist has family members or friends who come to the realization that Scientology, or some aspects of it, are too objectionable to stick around, they will be labeled as antagonistic and a source of trouble. If the departing person says anything critical about the organization, the founder, its management, any Scientology celebrity, any aspect of the subject, its policies, or Hubbard's ideas. Any critical mention of anything even remotely associated with Scientology will result in that person being written up, reported on, that's a KR, and an investigation will ensue. If the offending party will not recant, they will be targeted for character assassination and eventually expelled. Just be ready for that, you guys. Unless you hurt a child, then that might be a real problem. But the blackmail that they use against you guys in the outside world, nobody gives a fuck about it. So just don't, unless you essayed a child, nobody out here gives a fuck about it. Hubbard was somewhat of a sociopath and was quick to strike out at anyone who was not on board, not loyal, not with the program. Remind you of anyone? Quite a few Scientologists support Trump. I'm not even going to go there, you guys. I don't do politics. Which is all a game, by the way. It's all chess pieces. Hubbard could be a vindictive, belligerent, vengeful, and narcissistic and insecure individual. Who does that sound like? Rinder. He was in a position of power, and his policies formed the thinking and mindset of his followers. People who are critical of Hubbard and Scientology abuses were labeled fair game. Fair game became a practice of harassment and is demonstrable proof that Hubbard's doctrine, called the suppressive person, the anti-Scientologist, was his revenge. Hubbard advised his followers to never defend. Always attack. Always find a vulnerable point and attack. The purpose of lawsuits were not justice, but to ruin utterly. Wonder how many judges would be interested to know that. Anyone who would dare raise any accusation about Scientology wrongdoing. You see how they seal everyone in? It's a narcissist paradise. Hubbard wrote quite a lot of policy on how to detect and expel anyone with a viewpoint not wholly 100% on board with Hubbard's cult mindset. Unless you're a child like molester or arist, they're super fine with that. Hubbard didn't have a problem. The executives don't have a problem with that. Like, they're super okay with R-ing little children, covering it up, and what is that called? Harboring fugitives, criminals inside of Scientology that are R-ing children. Okay, hold on a minute. Let me get where. There is no rational reason to start wars or sow division between family members. But Hubbard had to. I believe it was due in part to his own undiagnosed mental illness. Would that be narcissism? psychopathy. Unfortunately, his followers, we should just call them devotees, think he was correct and wise in all cases. So they go along with the destruction of family ties, even if it's their own family. Well, and I personally, I think a lot of them need to pay for what they've done. I'm not going to just give a person an out just because they're under mind control. While in Scientology, I knew hundreds of cases where Hubbard's policies resulted in enormous heartache. And I just want to bring up again, I know that people are under mind control, but if you're a big boy or girl, you can make your own decisions. And just cutting off your children or your parents or your aunts, you are culpable for that. I'm just tired of all these narcissists not taking any responsibility for the things they do. While in Scientology, I knew hundreds... Okay, I already read that. While in Scientology, I knew hundreds of cases where Hubbard's policies resulted in enormous heartache. Well, and people choose to follow the policies, so that's what I'm saying. I myself experienced 25 years of documented harassment from the Church of Scientology. Their end goal was targeting my 83-year-old mother. Oh, I hope this is not you-know-who writing this. Well, if it is, I'm just going to keep going. Who deserved to be shunned by her son, her daughter, her granddaughter, and her relations. The justification for ruining her life, it almost destroyed her. Well, maybe it's not who I thought it was simply because she was a person who walked away from Scientology. A person who had the temerity to demand a refund for services she never wanted in the first place. And because she had a PhD in psychology. By the way, anybody listening to this, you know Hubbard, the frickin' parasite? Almost 90% of the bullshit that he pushes, he took from psychology. Or various religions like Buddhism and that. Hubbard and all Scientologists are batshit crazy on the subject of psychology. Yes, they are. Almost the same as when you call someone an anti-something, or back in the Nazi era, like they demonize the certain JEWs. They all use the same playbook. But Hubbard's own family was a mess. Threw his wife under the bus. She went to jail for him. Typical narcissist. And only his oldest daughter, Diana, stayed with Scientology. By the way, there are a lot of rumors from various Scientologists that audited Hubbard that stated he admitted to essaying his daughter, Diana. I don't have proof of it. The other 5 kids have nothing to do with the cult anymore. That's a creep factor looking at this freaking parasite. But anyways, regardless, it's an anonymous post. It's good information. And I will leave the link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.